I'm author Mark Muncy,
I'm author Erika Lance.
and this is Eerie Travels. Greetings, travelers. We're back.
We're back. Well, we're not really back. We're actually not where we normally are.
Yeah.
We're in person together.
It's in person, and if you hear an echo, we apologize. We are in this spacious loft
Airbnb, which is amazing and haunted.
in Pensacola. Yeah, and we were here for PensaCon.
PensaCon, which
And it's pretty crazy. We've got some of the other horsemen here. My lovely wife is here, and they are down with the con crud. They are down with the sickness.
well, I think they probably got what my breaking news story is.
Oh, really?
I
You
have a
think?
breaking news story. Yes.
Oh,
I do.
No.
I do. Believe it or not, MSN reported this, which of course completely beyond freaks me out when MSN decides to report anything.
Hold on one second. Let's let Callie hit Callie, our wonderful producer. Let's hit that breaking news sound beat you got. Perfect. I love that.
Okay, great. Scientists warn of possible public health threat after reviving an ancient zombie virus.
What?
Yes.
That's the headline?
That's the headline. And ironically, this kind of ties into us being at PensaCon because Jonathan Mayberry wrote a book called World War V.
Right. Yeah. No.
V
P-Wars.
Wars. I
V-Wars.
got it. And in the V Wars, the vampires came back because of a virus that was in the glaciers and stuff that got set free due to global warming, blah, blah, blah. Amazing book. Well, it turns out apparently the French, leave it to the French, who have decided to get this particular virus, which is a zombie virus, out of the iceberg and stuff like that and bring it into modern times. So they're super worried about this zombie virus spreading.
Well, yeah. And it's funny because, oh my God, with that, there was we were just at Mad Monster Party last week.
Yeah.
Up in North Carolina, which was an amazing, fun con. And one of the guests was Eugene Clark, who played Big Daddy Zombie in Land of the Dead. And if you can ever get to a con with Eugene Clark, he is amazing because he still dresses as the character.
Yeah.
And he does like photo ops as the character. Yes, he goes, oh, he does the whole character and it's attacking people. It's amazing. But yeah, so funny zombie combo there.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about on that con because some fun stuff. Carrie told me some fun stuff happened.
What?
Which we're gonna bring up. But first, I did not get not one zombie breaking news story, but two zombie breaking news stories. Well, so
what
we'll
we get another blip from the breaking news thing.
Yes. So we will take a moment for the blip.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, back.
All right, so
New
a second.
Post
Oh,
this
the New
time.
York Post. Yes.
New York Post.
Yes.
Skin rotting drug trank infiltrates big cities, zombifying bodies.
They have just become the weekly world news at this point.
Yeah, except for apparently it says the substance which seemed to appear in Philadelphia before migrating west to San Francisco and Los Angeles was used for cutting heroin, but most recently has been discovered in fentanyl. And the problem is with the fentanyl, which is, coming close to overtaking, well, I wouldn't say overtaking oxy, but it's a huge part of the problem because it's unfortunately tragically easy to make fentanyl.
And easy to get over borders and easy to get anywhere.
The ingredients are nowhere near like making, I can't believe you can say things like this, but it's nowhere near like making meth.
No.
It's harder to make meth than it is to make fentanyl. But apparently it being injected causes flesh to rot and people to go into a zombified state. And they have all these pictures, which we'll of course share all these links on the podcast notes. But I am just saying that my bug out bag that I created that I brought up on the show before for zombies, it's a real thing, people. Get your bug out bags ready.
Yes, it has to be. Oh my gosh, these are literally headlines out of World War Z by Max Brooks. But yes, yeah.
whatever.
That's all good. No, what's funny with that drug, it's a veterinary drug,
Mhm.
and I've read about this, and it's one of those that it's used to make drugs last longer for animals, and so of course that's why they're using it, is
To make the highs
to make
last
the highs
longer.
last longer and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why it started as a thing they cut with heroin and
Oh
all
my
this.
gosh.
But I've seen the videos of the people with this, and they literally are shaking and walking around. They look like something out of Shaun of the Dead. It's amazing. So
Well, we can go back to the story and I'll find it. We'll again share it in the notes. Do you remember Florida? Because we love Florida, it's the freak show state, was the first state where they reported somebody eating somebody's face off that
The
was
bath
on
salt.
bath salt, eating people's face off.
Yep.
We could have an interesting combo between the bath salts, this new trank drug, all this stuff, and this wonderful thing that they're doing over in France. We could literally create the zombie apocalypse.
We could, and especially in Florida.
Yeah.
But we had there was another famous case in St. Petersburg at an old abandoned Hooters, of course. So that, it's starting good there.
Yeah.
Where two homeless guys were living in that abandoned Hooters, and one was convinced the other one was a vampire, and so had to kill him, but then realized he could become a vampire himself by consuming his flesh.
Partner.
Yes. So after he killed the vampire, it didn't turn to dust, but he wanted to be a vampire himself, so he consumed him. And
Okay, so I just want to clarify that you tried to overtake my two zombie news stories, which legitimate zombie type viruses.
yes,
With adding in a Hooters vampire story.
but it's zombie-ish because
No,
he
it's
was
not.
flesh
It's the-
eating.
Yeah, because he's trying to be vampires. It's the same
All
thing.
right.
Whatever.
Potato.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I'm now to steer us back since you're trying to. Everybody get ready for the zombie apocalypse. This is from Erika.
All right. Erika, yeah.
Speaking of,
We are not experts on zombie apocalypse.
excuse me.
What? Okay. All right. I my apologies. I did not mean to steal your thunder.
You've done it twice now in this show. Have you not read the comments on YouTube that said
Oh yes, that's right. I'm never allowed to make this show
without
the partner, because she's hysterical.
because
so.
I'm hysterical. This is funny. Okay.
Hashtag winning.
Hashtag life goals. Let's talk about Mad Monster though, because
Where we
there's-
have the zombie plague from.
yes, exactly, in our
Our
Airbnb.
horsemen people.
But you met another celebrity there, didn't you?
I met a few celebrities there. I got to meet David Morrissey,
Mhm.
aka the governor from Walking Dead.
Ooh.
Speaking of zombies, but I knew him as the other doctor from the Christmas special of Doctor Who one time. And
I don't know why the hell you're bringing up Doctor Who. You had a perfect zombie segue.
well, all right, anyway, and then I got to meet Gene Clark again because
Yeah.
he's always awesome. But and there were some amazing other people. Alex Winter was there. Deep Roy was there, who played every small creature you've ever seen in a movie.
He was the
including
Oompa Loompa in the last
in the-
Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
the Johnny Depp ones.
Yeah.
My favorite thing, he was Mr. Sin, another Doctor Who character.
Of
He
course.
was a killer ventriloquist dummy. And then in Talons of Wing Chiang, one of the scariest Doctor Who's ever. And then
If you bring up Doctor Who one more time,
all right,
I'm
but
kidding. Your hilarity will walk out the door.
okay,
kidding.
fine. No
But
more
who else
Doctor Who.
did you meet?
And then Alex Winter, Bill S. Preston,
Lieutenant.
Esquire, and then
He was in Lost Boys too, which I totally
Yes.
forgot about.
yes,
And love, look, I brought the vampire thing
you
back.
got the vampires back now, so
Okay.
good. But then we walked over and I got to meet they had the cast of American Horror Story.
Ooh.
So
Which season of
Dylan
just
McDermott was
Oh.
there. I can't remember her name, but the lady who played the maid in the first season.
Oh, yeah.
Not the old version, but the one the men see.
Yeah.
And she was super sweet. But next to them was one of my favorite character actors of all time, the great Dennis O'Hare.
I love Dennis O'Hare. You know, my favorite American Horror Story he was in was Hotel.
Yes, he talks about her, the character he played there, a lot, and has had pictures of her he would sign as
Yeah.
well.
Did you go to coffee with Dennis?
And you heard the story.
I
so.
did. So, for those listening to us, I just want you to know, Mark has one of the most amazing wives on the planet. She's fantastic. Her name is Carrie. Brilliant. Mark is apparently completely oblivious to a very certain factor. What would that factor be, Mark?
That certain people like to flirt with me quite a bit, and I am oblivious to it.
Yeah. So Dennis asked you to copy.
Yeah, well, Dennis O'Hare was there that morning. We were setting up and he hadn't gone to his booth yet. I'm so used to the celebrities at the bigger cons that, they have the handlers and kind of steering them away from all the fun stuff. Mad Monster, it's all in one room. And the celebrities are around the outside wall, and it's amazing. It reminded me of older cons where you get to hang out with the guests,
which are some of the funner cons. So those listening, if you can check them out, obviously MegaCon, some of the big cons are fantastic. Galaxy Cons, Nerd Streets.
Here at Pensacon.
Yeah,
Pensacon. Strange mix of big and small con.
Yeah, but finding some of the smaller cons or ones that are just starting that have some celebrities, absolutely go, because a lot of times the celebrities actually get to mingle. But you are changing the subject from Dennis O'Hare.
Well, anyway, he was there and we were talking just because I was like, oh my gosh,
like you do.
Bud. And I can't wait to see you in a little bit. I'm going to be, getting your autograph and all this. I know you haven't set up yet. And he's like, no, I'm just, and I'm getting my Southern back on because, we're here in the South and all this. And he was playing up the character. And I was telling him, my child, Callie is a big fan of True Blood. And he's like, oh, what a darling, thing. And he literally slipped into character for a minute. I thought. And then
he was trying to slip into something else.
Which was well, anyway, a little bit later, he's like, oh, I'm just so happy I had my morning coffee. And he's like, maybe, and as I walked him, I was like, oh, your booth's over here. And I saw your banner, and he's, oh, would you be a darling and walk me over? And I walk him over, and then he's like, thank you, love. And then he's like, maybe we should go out for coffee sometime. And I was like, oh, that'd be great. I'm here all weekend. And I walked away, and I didn't put two and two together.
I just want to point out, I'm not sure now, hearing the full story from you, who was flirting with who, because I figure this sounds mutual. And I'm going to look over at his amazing wife and ask, doesn't that sound a little mutual there? Yeah,
I was fanboying.
100% agreeing with me, because apparently your fanboying equals
flirting, I guess.
Flirting. So
to be fair, the only other person I did that to was Russell Tovey, who was on Being Human many years ago, the British version of Being Human. He was the werewolf. He was the werewolf, the Jewish werewolf on that.
So you were hitting on him too?
Apparently he was also flirting with me, and I didn't catch it at the time.
The jury's out right now on who was flirting with who.
Okay.
So you should stop throwing your kitty at everybody.
I guess. So sorry, Dennis. I was married, and Carrie admitted that they should have come over and put their foot down.
Yes, apparently.
Back off. He's my man.
Oh yeah. Well, one wouldn't have to if you stopped doing that. So today's episode, though, is airing on April 1st.
Oh, correct? Yeah, well, around April 1st. Around April 1st. So, and who knows when they're listening, but so
we're talking about.
Well, let me talk about this time I was the most terrified in my life, and that will lead into our subject.
Okay.
Before we get into that, I want to say something.
Oh,
it's
what?
Me.
All right.
I'm your kid. First off, I'm going to say something. My dad is definitely wrong, because Dad, I don't know if you remember that story that you told me about Andy Hallett.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, Dad. Yeah, you want to talk about that one too?
I believe
the great Andy Hallett, who was Lorne in Angel, the green demon host, remembered me when we met him at MegaCon many years ago, from when we had worked together as youths on a project. And then he went to me and he's like, and you always remember the ones that got away. So
there is, Carrie, I hope you're paying attention to the epidemic of your hubby bubby over here. Flirting with. Okay.
I'm flattered. Very much,
okay. Yeah, I see that.
I'd also like to segue us by saying that the biggest hoax that I wish was real was that I didn't have to listen to this story not multiple times, but even more times because I'm going to have to edit this. So congratulations, Dad.
Yes, you're very welcome. Editing all the the people who are crushing on me and
vice versa?
and vice versa, I guess.
Okay, I guess.
Fantastic.
Andy was beautiful. So
Okay.
but anyway,
Scariest moment of your life.
scariest
now.
moments of life. All right, so now we're gonna shift. We're
Okay.
gonna get dark. We're gonna get scary here. So okay, this is one of those events that is hard to describe without telling the whole tale.
Okay, tell the whole tale.
All right, so everybody turn down the lights, unless you're driving.
Okay, you're
Yeah.
flirting with the audience now.
Oh, God.
Stop doing that. Do you see yourself doing it?
All right. So anyway, so
Okay.
in the tale, I am a young man and I am walking through my land in Kentucky, the family land, the home of the bench leg. This is, crazy location, and it is dark sky territory. So I am out there looking for stars, and I'm actually looking for UFOs because it was the early 80s and I was a nerd.
Okay, so we should real quick, so that for those that maybe live in cities and stuff that are listening to us, when we say dark skies, one of the things that I think people who are not used to being out in areas that don't have what's called light pollution,
Right.
meaning there aren't a lot of city lights, there's not a lot of lights from businesses.
Yeah.
So when it gets dark, it is literally pitch black. Sometimes you have a little moonlight, but it is not like walking down a quote unquote dark street, because a dark street in cities and stuff still has light pollution.
Yeah.
There is, even though it can be dark and scary, there's still a degree of seeing. So when you're talking about it, you're talking about when it's completely
dark. And
Okay.
I'm in these woods. I know the woods well. I know the past. My eyes are getting adjusted to the darkness.
Okay.
But it's also, you see more stars than you've ever seen in your life out there,
Yes.
because you don't realize how many. You can see the Milky Way, you can see all this. People travel hundreds of miles to see this stuff. I would go there on weekends because it was, my family farm, and I would go out there looking for aliens because I wanted to be abducted. I'll admit it.
Okay,
Because it was Close Encounters had just come out and all this stuff. Man, I was a nerd. It's all good. Star Wars was my life.
So you're flirting with aliens now too?
Yeah, I was convinced. So as I'm walking along and I'm out in the woods, I notice a strange glow in a tree above me, like a incandescent light shining in the tree branches above me. And I thought, ooh, foxfire. So I'm finally, foxfire is a type of moss that grows in the hills of Appalachia, and it glows at night.
So it has like a bioluminescence.
Like a bioluminescence, is a phosphorescence actually.
Okay.
So it's almost
Whatever,
like,
science.
but anyway, so I thought maybe that's it. I hadn't actually seen any of that on our land. I was very surprised. So I take a step to look at it from a different angle, and the light moved over to the branch above me. And suddenly all the hairs on the back of my neck go up, little alarms go up, and I'm hearing this voice in the back of my head, and it's my father. And he has told me, do not get spooked in the woods at night. There's, specific rules of the woods. Don't say don't answer if someone calls your name.
But we got to cover that. Why
Yeah.
do people say don't answer when it calls your name?
Because it's the hide behind. It's a creature that will come and get you. Or it is the other one is the he who walks behind, which is a native spirit that if you whistle in the woods at night, it will find you and hunt you. It's a type of skinwalker type legend.
Sure.
So I'm getting a little nervous, but I'm sitting there going, okay, I can logic this. There's this light that's shining, must be from the neighboring mountain. There must be a car up there that its headlights are shining. That's my logicking this. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so glad I wasn't there to witness that.
Yep.
Pile of
So
bullshit. Continue.
Yep. So then I'm like, all right, so that's got to be it. And so I'm like, oh, maybe if I change my angle again, I can see what this light is. And I move again and it like jumps back over to the other branch right above me. And I'm like, bugger.
Wow.
I don't know what is going
How's your
on.
logic going now, Mark?
No, exactly. I'm like, okay, so I'm thinking about our monster on our land, the bench leg. I'm thinking because he glows supposedly, but he's not invisible, and he's a big panther thing with a human head and a wooden leg, and we'll deal with him another
Okay, I
time.
was gonna say, we gotta cover him another time, but I
Another
don't
time.
feel like we have time to.
No,
do
he's
that.
a holler monster story.
Yeah.
But he's available in Eerie, Appalachia, that you can get from History Press, and audio version from Four Horsemen.
Well,
and
it's
History
also
Press.
our Eerie
Yeah,
Travels
Joel's website.
website,
Yep.
so good
So,
plug in the middle of your
yep,
terrifying story.
Anyway, so now I'm getting nervous,
Mhm.
and I'm really nervous, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to take a jump at this point because I'm hearing my father's other advice. Do not run in the woods, because if you run in the woods, you will, spot, you will flip, you will do
Mhm.
all this, you will trip, you'll hurt yourself, other things will happen. Just don't run.
Well, that's actually sound advice.
Sound advice, right?
Because
Especially in
there-
the dark.
there are tree roots and all kinds of other things, so
Yep.
it's not like there's a clear paved path, so.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. So I, at this point, go, okay, I'm gonna make a jump, and that way I can really see this thing. So I leapt as far as I could leap. I was a nerd, so it wasn't really that great. But
Very not athletic.
the
Go ahead.
light literally jumped with me from tree to tree. I was done. That
Okay.
was it. I was terrified, and my heart starts pacing, and I'm like, damn it, I'm out of here. I start running. And
So the fight or flight
the
in you
fight-
was flight.
flight is our only option because I can't fight a light. And then as I'm running, I'm sitting there going, damn, this is what you wished for. You wanted to be beamed up, and now they're hunting you and they're going to find you. Had it been a few years later, I might have thought it was like the Predator chasing me, because as I'm running, I keep looking up and the light is literally going from branch to
For the-
branch to
For the
branch.
record, Predator was an alien.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So,
So-
okay, so a less nice one. Okay. good
And I'm
moving on.
thinking maybe will-o-wisps, maybe some sort of nature spirit or something, but I am now terrified. And now what happens is once you do start running in the woods, you stir up every animal that is asleep within a mile radius, and they start making noises themselves, and they start running through the woods. So now you're hearing stuff running all around you, in addition to your heart pounding through your chest and making everything seem louder. I'm running. I am terrified. I know the trailer where my family is about a half mile away. I can make that. I know I'm going to live if I can make it there. And I start running even harder. And then I kicked up a deer. Now, I don't know if anybody's ever heard a deer be startled before. If you ever kick up a deer in the woods at night, it sounds like a woman being murdered. It is the most terrifying sound.
So obviously the producer will make a note to find an example of this on YouTube so that people can hear what it sounds like to be an idiot like you in the woods. Continue with your story.
So at that point, I am now convinced I am going to die of sheer fright alone. I run, I trip, I fall, I pick myself up, and the adrenaline is keeping me going. My hands are all scuffed up. I make it to the edge of my family's property, the barbed wire fence. I grab the barbed wire fence. I don't care that I'm not wearing gloves, and I'm just climbing through as best I can, ripping my shirt. But there's a clearing there. There's no trees. This thing is
So
jumping
that's
from tree to
exactly
tree.
where the aliens can obviously land to abduct you.
Of course, but there's no trees. This thing's jumping from tree to tree. I get out there and there's no trees, and the light is gone. And I'm like, thank God I have survived. And I run to the trailer, and I'm going to get my dad's guns. I'm going to get everything I can to fight off this crazy thing that's in the woods. I'm going to get everybody in the family to form a posse. We're going to try to figure this thing out.
Super logical.
I get up on the porch, and I go to reach the door, and I see something above me. And I look up, and there's the light. And that's when I remembered the flashlight in my back pocket that I had turned on somehow. And that is what I ran. I literally ran a mile
Oh,
from my own ass.
wow. And so well done, good Sarah. Well
So
done.
the scariest time. So thank you, April Fools, because now we are going to talk about hoaxes.
Yes, but I think we all need a break for a moment
Yes, I
after
agree.
that debauchery. So we will be right back with Eerie Travels.
Eerie, Appalachia. Gear up for a frightful jaunt into the darkest reaches of the ancient Appalachians. Folks deep within the Appalachian hollers lean close to the campfire to share stories of the inexplicable with hushed awe. Monsters rumbling in the hills, strange lights darting through the pitch black night sky, horrible occurrences almost ineffable in their bizarre tragedy. Tall tales, you might say. Tell that to the Flatwoods monster in Braxton County, West Virginia, or the Goat Man of Louisville. Look into his humanoid eyes and let him know you don't believe. And what of those apparitions in Mammoth Cave's Corpse Rock, or the Satan spawn known as the Jersey Devil? How do you respond when confronted by these mysteries? From the metaphysical energy that swirls near Serpent Mound in Ohio to Point Pleasant's Mothman legacy, Mark Muncy and Carrie Schultz explore the dark history lurking in the shadows of Appalachia. Read by Mark Muncy, author and experts on strange folklore with appearances on shows such as Ancient Aliens, The Curse of Robert the Doll, and many, many more.
Greetings, mortals and others. I'm Dick Terhune, the voice from hell. I work with haunted attractions all over the US, Canada, and Europe to increase audiences and enhance their experience with highly effective commercials, narrations, animatronic character voices, whatever your dark heart desires. Let me help you do more, scare more, profit more. Find out more at Voice from Hell on Facebook and at voicefromhell.com.
Okay, we're back. I'm done laughing at Mark. It's kind of hard because wow.
And I was getting lectured about being flirted with by both Callie and Erika. So
Well,
thank you.
that's because apparently there's so much more to some of these stories, but we're not going to cover that. It's
Another time.
But I was looking at some very sexy pictures of Dennis during the break.
Yeah.
By the way,
He's a beautiful man.
He's a beautiful man. But didn't you find another kind of beautiful man when you were adventuring around after Mad Monster?
Yeah, it's actually the reason what I wanted to do this episode. Well, besides the fact that it was April Fool's, and I just thought it was appropriate. There was a thing we went up for. We're researching for our next project. There is a monster that was. There were two cars in a town, and it is in Lebanon, Tennessee.
Okay.
And in Lebanon, Tennessee, these two people were lovers. The problem was one was a married woman, and the lover was not married to her. And they went out to a road called Sugar Flat Road, which is just outside of Lebanon, Tennessee. And they were having a tryst at an old church.
I love that this went from you and Dennis to a tryst. I don't even know how you did that, but okay. So tryst, got it.
All right.
Okay.
Now, you'd think this is like an ancient story. This is 1989.
Oh, wow. So that's not too far away. Yeah. I mean,
it is an ancient story.
It's pre-cell phone and internet, everyone. Yeah. So if you don't know when those came into being, it was not then.
No, okay. I was graduating high school that year. So, anyway, so that'll tell you a little bit about time frames there.
Mine was 91. Okay, continue on. Nobody needs to do math.
Yeah, don't do the math. Don't do the math. But anyway, so this couple, they've had their fling and they are deciding to go back separate little side roads to get back to town so nobody notices, right? And he pulls out and something jumps in front of his car. And there's two somethings. And they are large, hairy creatures. Now,
two large hairy creatures
that walking on two legs
jump in front of his car. Okay.
All right.
Not Bigfoot?
They are Bigfoot. But the difference is these are white. They are albino. So they are pale white hair. And he swerves to avoid them. And the second car, the lady, clips the second one and knocks it to the road.
So two people having an affair are driving back and run into two albino Bigfeet.
But they only hit one of them. The other
Okay.
one got across the road. And a feminine looking one got across the road, but the male got hit.
Okay,
So this is like a mated pair or something.
a mated pair of
Bigfoot, albino Bigfoot. So
Oh, this
they
is-
get out, they look at the creature. They're like, okay, it's fine. It's going to
They-
be fine.
They clip it and have to get out of the car. Clipping is very different than
Yep.
have to get out of the car to see if the
Yes.
creature is still alive. But
So
okay.
the guy's like, you've got to get back to town. I got to get back to town. Whatever this is, we just got to get out of here. It's not a person. So we're not in trouble.
we've clipped a humanoid type
Creature,
creature. By
but-
clipped, I mean actually hit it so it fell down but is still alive.
Yep.
But we got to get back to town.
It's because we've got to race to town before your husband gets home.
Oh, that's obviously.
So they
Hide
race-
the fair, leave the
Yep.
creature.
So she races home and he races home. And then he starts thinking about it. He's like, well, if they find that thing,
They're gonna obviously know they were having an affair.
they're going to figure out it was her car that hit it. And she was out when she shouldn't have been, blah, blah, blah. So he decides to go back and check on it and make sure it left.
There's a lot of holes in the story,
But there's the
continue.
body.
Oh, so this clipping, we're gonna.
Yes.
We need to define clipping, has resulted in the death of the
This-
male version of the albino. I hope everybody's keeping up because I feel like I'm close to getting lost on this. But go ahead.
Sorry. But anyway, yes. So he grabs the body and drags it away. He is a taxidermist. He's going to preserve this albino Bigfoot. He says he could hear the howls of the mate and calling to it. But the body is so beat up from this clipping that he can't salvage it. So he's only going to take the head.
Okay.
So he hides the body somewhere, but takes the monster's head home.
Because in your car, you have whatever you need in which to remove
Well,
a Bigfoot's head.
apparently he took it back to his shop, his taxidermy shop, and that's where he removed the head, but then got rid of the body.
Okay.
So he had the head, and he did a very poor job of taxidermy on it. It is
So he was not a good taxidermist.
not a good taxidermist
Okay.
in any shape. And that is the story. The head was on display in Lebanon, Tennessee, in an antique store for decades.
So I gotta summarize this again.
Yes.
So that we're on the same page. So the taxidermist and the adulteress went and had Nookie taking separate cars. Did they just sex outside? So they were just sex outside. Okay, whatever. Then
I'm going to assume in the backseat of one of the cars, just because I think Lebanon, Tennessee has a little bit of class.
okay, well, okay. And then they decide to go drive back, and there are Bigfoot that are albino and male and female, and somehow this is very easily distinguishable. And they clip, I'm doing quotation marks so
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can see them. The male one, which then somehow end results in a fatal injury with the
Right.
clipping, which nobody would notice on a car. So if you've never seen a car that has caused a fatal injury, you would know this is probably a question she's going to get when she gets home.
Yeah,
from
what
her
happened to
husband
the
anyway.
car? Right.
Yeah, in the blood, in the hair, whatever. We're going to skip that part as if that didn't happen.
Yep.
Then the gentleman who has taxidermy as a profession goes back out, puts the body in a vehicle, drives the body to his taxidermist shop, somehow manages to completely fuck up the taxidermy, even though this is a job,
Yep.
and gets rid of the body,
Yep. And
And
saves the
then-
head.
saves the head. I need to understand how the head that he saved for some reason ended up in an antique shop.
We have no idea.
Because it can't be an antique, and an antique has to be over a certain amount of years
Yes.
old. So it's a novelty in an antique shop of a
Right.
badly taxidermied head.
And they have a
Got it.
little note on it that says, is it an alien? Is it a Bigfoot? Is it this? What happened in
A
1989?
terrible taxidermist told a gigantic, fat, bold lie.
And most
Continue.
people who have seen it over the years have said that it is just this It's a mask. It's terrible. If it is a human head and he sewed hair onto it, maybe he's hiding a crime. You know, this is some crazy stuff. So there's all these theories about this head, but it was on display in this town for ages. And then it disappears.
When does it disappear?
There's a flood in Lebanon, Tennessee. The whole downtown area floods and all the shops close.
When is this flood?
This flood is in the early 2000s.
Okay.
So it disappears because that shop
So
closes.
less than 20 years from the
Yeah.
head arrival. Okay, it disappears.
It
Got
disappears.
Got
It shows up again at a festival in town, just a carnival, like a state fair type thing, but
it.
not
It
quite.
magically appears at a state fair.
Yes, a band, a bluegrass band has it, and they have it on stage with them for Dancing with the Devil.
Do we know where the bluegrass band got the head?
No one
Okay.
seems to know. Now, 2021,
So 2 years ago.
it was listed on several websites as being on display at the Lebanon Museum. So post-pandemic,
Well, mid-pandemic.
mid-pandemic, yeah. Post those lockdowns, it was going to be on display that Halloween
Okay,
at an exhibit on monsters.
okay.
So that was the last time it's been reported, and I'm like, oh, it must still be at the museum. They must have it at the museum. Yeah, and now Carrie's laughing because yes, this was we go out of our way for Mad Monster before we head to Pensacon because we want a picture of this head,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So we drive and drive and drive, and we get to the Lebanon Museum, and it was a holiday and they were closed. So I was like, oh, President's Day.
It's
So,
President's Day.
yeah.
Did it occur to call? Never mind.
Well,
Tell
I
me your
called
story.
another museum that we went to see that day earlier in Tennessee, somewhere else, and they were open. So I assumed all museums must be open.
No, I meant about whether or not they had the head, but continue.
Well,
on.
that was the thing. I did not think to go any further than that. So I get there to the museum. We spend the night in Lebanon, Tennessee,
Okay. Was it a
because I couldn't
pleasant-
call them because they were closed
was-
anyway.
was it a
So
pleasant experience in Lebanon, Tennessee?
beautiful town. Carrie found an amazing donut shop that she loved, Pop's Donuts. That was and
That's our travels today.
yes,
You can
go
go
to
to
Pop's
Pensacon in Pensacola, Florida. It's held once a year in February, or you can go to Pop's Donuts in Lebanon,
Tennessee, and have a
Tennessee.
great little coffee and a great little donut. But
Maybe call in advance to see if they're open.
see if they're open. But the museum is actually in the bottom of the courthouse,
Okay.
which is why it was closed.
Okay.
Because museums were open that day, but it was in the courthouse. It's a government building, so it's closed. We get in there and we're like, hey, where's the museum? Because there's signs for the museum. And they're like, oh, it's in the basement. And and we don't use it much anymore. I'm like, well, there's a sign for it. Okay. So we take the elevator down in this courthouse, and it's this old creaky ass elevator. It was hysterical. And there's just a few exhibits left. And there's a sign, monster exhibit, but it's empty. And so we are like, hey, can we find the curator? Oh, we don't have one anymore. We fired him. I'm like, okay, so can anybody tell me about the monster head? Oh, we've got some. And what's funny is down there in the museum behind this employees only door, I heard these guys talking. So I knock, and it was like walking into the IT crowd. Literally, these two guys, like it was like seeing Richmond and that, and they open up and they're like, oh, we're IT. We don't know
It's a
anything about the
brilliant show.
museum.
On and we'll set
Yeah.
link that Callie's gonna just have to have like
Like-
this. The show notes are gonna have 50 links in
Yes.
this time.
Anyway, I would say long story short, but it's too late.
So
they-
we're in this journey
This
now.
wonderful lady comes down. She's from the city. She has no idea what the hell I'm talking about this monster head. Never heard of it, never had it, never saw it. No one knows about it. It doesn't exist. And I pulled up the website, that said it was here. And she's like, oh, that wasn't our exhibit. And I'm like, there's a sign that says monster exhibit. I can't imagine anything else you would have. Oh, it was just folklore of Tennessee monsters. And I don't know about the head. Maybe check with the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Oh, but then she calls me. I gave her a number, said, if you find out anything, call me. We're not even out of the parking lot. at this point, I'm very depressed because I'm like, where the heck's the head? Well, we got to go. We got to make it to, another town. And then suddenly she calls me and says, hey, I think I know this antique store that might have it. Because I think it went back to the owner.
Okay.
And so I talked to another lady up here and she did remember us having it. So I was like, oh, okay. So it still does exist. It has survived the flood, all this. So we called this other antique store. They knew nothing about what I'm talking. So I'm calling everybody today on a Tuesday morning in Lebanon, Tennessee, asking about the Sugar Flat Road.
Now
monster.
you're calling them. It
Now I'm
occurred to me
calling
that
everybody.
day to call them.
Well, now I have a bunny trail to go on and I'm now hunting this head.
Versus the first part of the bunny trail, which was,
Yeah.
Okay, continue on.
Finally got in touch with the Chamber of Commerce
Mhm.
there, which is always your go-to when you're trying to find something that might be in a shop. And they said, oh, that guy who owns that shop, he owns the head. But he's out of business since the pandemic. Yes, and so he is not reopened yet, may not reopen. And I'm like, can you give him my number? I'd like to see the head and all this. And there was another little bit where it was a bunny trail with a ghost tour that supposedly had it in Chattanooga. And they do have the head, but not, they have a head, but not the head. The head they have is a hologram made of it from 1990, because of course, 1990, everybody made 3D holograms of everything.
Yeah, so they do have, okay, so somebody, okay.
So if you want to see a copy of it, it is available at the Chattanooga Ghost Tours headquarters.
Is that the end of the story?
Well, the end of the story is that I'm still waiting for a response from the guy who owns it, but it was a hoax. The whole thing was a hoax.
Well, it's obviously, if you look at that picture, it's a hoax.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
ridiculous, but what I'm still drawn back to the entire part where you didn't call the museum before you got there.
It was the weekend. It was the weekend.
Okay, did you suddenly get a bug up your butt to go look at this?
Yes, because we were at Mad Monster and I was like, we were driving to another museum that was open that I knew and had talked to. And I'm like, oh, wow. Hey, this was a thing that was on our maybe list if we got out early enough. Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah. The whole, before the flood, the original antique shop that had it burned down. And that's why they moved to downtown. And then they were destroyed by a flood. So the head is cursed too. So
No, the head is a weird, okay. Listeners, again, we always love your listener tales. Other than your listener tales telling us how you actually found out something existed before driving to it, please, please feel free to tell us what you think this creature is. We'd love to hear from you. I have my own opinions, but I think that you should be very careful when choosing a taxidermist,
obviously, and if you're trying to cover up an affair, don't try having an albino Bigfoot head.
Don't
So.
do the affair. It seems like this got very complex based
And it
on.
was 1989. You can get divorced. That was a thing.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Well, if you're, anyway, that's a
anyway.
whole other topic.
And topic. So
So that monster was a complete hoax.
complete
along
hoax.
with the event that the museum had being a complete hoax.
Yep.
Along with the antique shop being you had like a series of like 8 hoax in this
Yes.
entire thing.
Exactly. In this one story. But now,
Okay.
I go back to the great hoax of Clearwater Beach, which was one of the things everybody wishes I would put in one of my books, but I'm like, it's a hoax. So it's not really. There was a man who was
We
convinced.
should call him a gentleman.
A gentleman. He was convinced he had seen a sea monster on Clearwater Beach. He had seen Nessie.
So
on Clearwater
Clearwater
Beach.
is on the Gulf side
Gulf
of
side.
Florida.
Yes.
So he has seen the Loch Ness monster has traveled from Scotland to the Gulf of Mexico. I'm
Right.
just clarifying the story for everyone
Yes.
following on. Okay.
And he has seen it on the beach and nobody believes him.
Nobody. Okay.
Nobody believes him. Can't imagine why.
Yeah.
So,
I don't believe him. And I'm not even there.
so he decides he's going to make everybody believe him. So he goes,
I'm gonna make you believe me.
so he goes and he's going to find a way to make it believe him. So now we cut ahead 2 months and the Smithsonian Institute is in Clearwater Beach because they have found strange tracks on the beach.
Oh.
Giant 3-toed tracks that
Have we clarified whether Nessie has 3 toes?
no, we have not. We have not.
Okay.
But so we don't know where these have come from. And so Smithsonian has sent their zoological experts to identify these tracks.
Oh, and what comes from this?
They decide these deep three-toed footprints could only come from one creature.
Oh my gosh, was it the Loch Ness Monster?
No, it had to be a 10-foot tall penguin.
Oh, I've heard about the great 10-foot tall penguins. They're penguin ginormous.
Yeah, ginormous.
And they live in Antarctica.
Yes,
I mean,
from H.P. Lovecraft's Mountains of Madness.
exactly.
So,
Have not
yes.
seen them. There are many pictures.
There's
of
many
these.
pictures of these creatures.
So, just to clarify, Florida is very much a tropical swamp for the most part.
Yes.
Clearwater Beach is on the Gulf side. The water is not very deep there
Little-
for the most
no,
part.
no.
And there is a 10-foot tall penguin just wandering about.
And Clearwater not exactly known for penguins,
Not-
let alone any penguins except at the little marine aquarium.
It's
But
like
yeah,
zoo type thing,
Yeah.
but it is not a penguin frequented area.
no, and definitely not by giant penguins that must weigh over 200 to 300 pounds.
Well, being 10-foot tall, I would
Of
think it would weigh
course.
more than that.
That is the only possible thing that could have made those tracks. That is what Smithsonian
Okay,
prints
first
in the
of all,
paper.
I hope that they fired those zoologists immediately.
Well,
Or
the-
did they find the 10-foot penguin?
there are suddenly appearances of the people are reporting sightings that they know about the penguin. They have seen it in the past. They have seen it recently. They have seen it over on Honeymoon Island. They have seen it on Treasure Island. It is all up and down the entire coast of the Gulf. And everybody's trying to catch the penguin, find the penguin.
And
It disappears from the papers. The penguin mania disappears, but people talk about this urban legend of this giant penguin. Finally, 20 years later, the man who said he saw the sea monster finally came out and said, you know what? I hate you all. I made these cement shoes to try to prove to you, to have you look for my sea monster, and you all thought it was a freaking penguin. And you believed my penguins, the penguin story that other people, that Smithsonian made up, and not my sea monster story. And I have seen those shoes. They are still in the possession of his family. And they are amazing. These giant cement three-toed shoes. And I think they look like dinosaur footprints. And that's what he was trying to make them look like. They did not look like giant penguins would have made
excuse
those.
me, a zoologist, which you are not,
I'm not.
Mr. Muncy,
No, I'm not.
a trained Smithsonian
Mhm.
zoologist was able to nail this situation. I think this gentleman is nothing short of amazing. And if
Yes.
those zoologists did not get immediately fired, I should think one should try to find the name of this zoologist. So anything else verified by them can be immediately called into question.
Yep.
Yes.
And then our last little stop on the way here was Honey Island Swamp, which
Okay.
is the Honey Island Swamp Monster.
Where's Honey Island?
That is in Mississippi. Or
Okay.
Alabama, sorry, right on the Alabama-Mississippi border. We're in that little bit of the coast right between New Orleans,
Uh-huh.
you got
Nolans.
Nolans. Then you got Biloxi, Mississippi.
Okay.
You've got Mobile, Alabama,
Okay.
and then you've got here in Pensacola.
Okay.
So it's right, you've got 4 states within an hour of each other
Yeah.
along the Gulf Coast. And in the middle of all that is Honey Island Swamp. And there was a creature there that everybody says looked just like a Bigfoot, but it could have some weird skin issues, but it was like gray instead of a black or
Is this
brown.
one that looked like elephant skin or some?
No,
crap?
that's the Pascagoula aliens, which is also right here too.
Oh,
So
Okay,
we're not going there. That's not a hoax, but
The now no longer albino skin.
no, but a
Bigfoot.
gray-haired,
Bigfoot.
Bigfoot,
Okay.
but thin hair, very thin hair, lightly haired of in its body, but its head had long hair. But it was like thin, like tapered thin, more like our classic skunk apes down in the Everglades, but which would be in that area.
Which
It's-
is another
yep.
Bigfoot. Okay, we're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
going down with
yep.
the Bigfoot. So
So a dad and his son see it and they report it, and it just goes unmentioned for a little while. Then the 1970s come, and the show that we all always talk about, In Search Of,
Yeah.
they bring out their sighting of the Honey Island swamp monster, and it explodes and becomes famous.
Okay.
And now everybody's looking for the Honey Island swamp monster, and they go to those original two guys who saw it, the dad and the son. And the dad's like, oh, I kind of remember where it is. And he takes people to it, and they find tracks, strange tracks, 3-toed tracks, but not penguin tracks.
Oh, I was going to say, is our giant penguin traveling?
But 3-toed, but then they had like a 4th little side toe on the
Okay.
side. But most Bigfoot tracks have 5. Some of our skunk ape traps have 3.
Okay.
4 is unusual, and it looks a little weird.
Okay.
And then when the man finally got tired and said, I'm done with this, he finally passes away. And sadly, we can't ask him questions, because shortly after he died, his daughter found footage from an 8mm camera that looks like it was somebody sitting in a deer blind and filming what looks like a gray colored, what we would consider a Bigfoot, Sasquatch. And then he also has, he had those casts of those prints, right? Well, she also finds shoes with those strange 4-toed prints. No, she doesn't find those. Some other guy, a scientist who was researching the Honey Island swamp monster, finds it and says, oh, it's got to be your dad's shoes. And he used it to fake these footprints that he casts that are so famous. But the shoe was not her dad's shoe size.
So I'm confused though.
Yeah.
Other than now we have a gray Sasquatch.
Yep.
That was in a swamp, which is not the skunk ape. This doesn't sound like a hoax if they have footage of this thing.
Well, and that's just it. People are trying to study the footage, and they haven't been able to determine its authenticity. But, it's like the Patterson-Gimlin film we talk about back in '68. Nobody's been able to determine if that's real or not. This is another one of those, is it a hoax? Isn't it a hoax? But we found the shoe. But if those casts are available and people make copies of those casts, they're for sale a lot of Bigfoot conferences and stuff, like Honey Island Swamp Monster cast. And it's pretty easy to make a shoe
So somebody
from
made
that
the shoe-
cast.
So somebody was playing a hoax. We just don't know
We
if
don't
the
know.
genesis
Yeah.
of it was a hoax.
So
Okay,
that's the study of hoaxes. And so on your travels,
you can go to
the Honey Island Swamp,
you can go to Mad Monster
Mad
Con,
Monster Con.
which is in several locations. You can go to Pensacola
Yes.
and go to Pensacon in several locations. You can go to Lebanon, Tennessee, and see nothing besides a donut shop. I'm just following this. And then you can go to Clearwater, Florida. Clearwater Beach is rated one of the #1 beaches, and not see a 10-foot tall penguin, because those things don't
You
exist.
can go to the Marine Aquarium and see the little ones, though.
Yes, that's true. And you can go to the beach, which would be amazing. Or you can go to Honey Swamp.
Honey Island Swamp, and they have Honey Island Swamp tours, and you can get a little swamp buggy and go out and look for the monster.
Okay, well, this sounds like a very interesting vacation for our viewers.
Yeah.
And
And
listeners.
just remember, when you go out in the woods, remember, if you put a flashlight in your back pocket.
Yeah, note to self, do not let Mark be your guide. And obviously, celebrities out there, if you've got a thing for Mark, you can write in and let us know.
Yeah,
We'd love to hear
I
it.
apparently need to hear it direct from the horse's mouth. So
So
it's all
if
good.
you guys know of any hoaxes,
Yes.
please send us your listener tales. We would love to hear about them. We'd love to look into them. And with that,
I think we are through here, so we will see you on the other side.
Before we close out, I would like to state that my dad's middle name is Oblivious. Anyway, Destiny, take it away.
Yes.